In today's episode, we're diving into 3 of the most haunting orca attacks ever recorded. From a routine walk along the pool that turned into a fight for survival to the youngest orca trainer ever attacked in Japan. But first, we began at a well-known marine park in the United States, where a 28-year-old woman believed her bond with one powerful orca was unbreakable until it was not. The morning sun cast long shadows across Oceanic World Marine Park as visitors filed through the gates, unaware that they would witness one of the most horrific incidents in marine entertainment history. The newly renovated 5,000-seat stadium filled quickly as tourists sought shelter from the summer heat. Marina Lysaro, 28, stood backstage reviewing her notes. Her slender frame belied the strength required to work with Kaya, the park's 9,000-pound female orca. Captured off Iceland's coast in 2007, Kaya had transformed from a wild predator into the crown jewel of Oceanic World's performances. Her size and intelligence made her shows particularly spectacular, drawing crowds that sustained the park through economic downturns. As a child, Marina often found solace along the rugged shoreline where the crashing waves and whispering winds provided an escape from the challenges of a small-town life. Her unique passion for marine creatures set her apart, and while school corridors were sometimes unkind to her unconventional interests, the ocean's vast expanse offered her a sanctuary of acceptance. Driven by that passion, Marina pursued a master's degree in marine mammal science with an unyielding determination. Her research, known for its innovative insights into the complex communication of cetaceans, quickly earned her recognition among her peers. Her relationship with Kaya transcended the conventional trainer-animal dynamic. Marina saw the orca as both a wild spirit and a misunderstood soul, capable of a language all its own, a series of clicks, whistles, and nuanced gestures that she strived to decode. Countless hours were spent in silent communion, where Marina's gentle words and steady presence aimed to soothe Kaya's inner turmoil. Yet, beneath her professional composure lay a profound inner conflict, a constant battle between the pressures of a spectacle-driven industry and her unwavering commitment to the well-being of the majestic creature in her care. But who knew that this very creature would bring forth her end? By early 2009, troubling patterns had emerged in Kaya's behavior. The orca began showing stereotypic movements, repetitive swimming patterns, and unusual vocalizations during night hours. Dr. Rebecca Simpson, the park's lead veterinarian, documented concerning changes. Kaya had started refusing meals, displaying aggressive posturing toward junior trainers, and showing increasing resistance to basic commands. In March, Kaya had her first serious incident, pinning a trainer against the pool wall during a routine exercise. Though no injuries occurred, Marina noted it as a critical warning sign. By summer, Kaya's unpredictable behavior escalated. She began ignoring recall signals, swimming erratic patterns during performances, and emitting vocalizations veteran trainers had never heard before. That is when the warning bell started ringing. Marina voiced concerns repeatedly in staff meetings. Her log entry from July 14th detailed Kaya's increasingly unstable state, noting erratic eye tracking, refusal of basic commands, and aggressive displays. Most concerning was an incident that morning when Kaya charged the underwater viewing window, something she had never done before. Despite these warnings, park management, under pressure to maintain attendance during crucial tourist season, insisted the show continue. The morning of July 15th carried unusual tension. Kaya's pre-dawn behavior had been particularly concerning, with the orca emitting high-pitched whistles throughout the night. Adding to the volatile situation, the park's sophisticated filtration system had malfunctioned overnight, disrupting the careful balance of Kaya's environment. At 11:15 a.m., as Marina began the main show, even the most experienced staff members sensed something was wrong. The usual upbeat music echoed through the stadium as she introduced Kaya to the crowd of 4,300 visitors. The orca's initial entry into the performance area was hesitant. Kaya had circled the perimeter 3 times before responding to Marina's signals. But the show had already started, and with music playing and thousands watching, it didn't seem serious enough to call off. Experienced staff noticed Kaya's strange behavior, but orcas sometimes have off days, and without a clear sign of danger, no one raised the alarm. The first half of the performance proceeded with mounting tension. Kaya performed her standard repertoire, but each behavior seemed forced. During a normally routine backfloat, Kaya suddenly snapped her jaws, an action that caused junior trainer Maria Delgado to radio a warning. But in the noise of the show, with music blasting and crowds cheering, the warning was misunderstood as a technical issue. The critical moment came during the show's signature sequence, the Hurricane Ride, a complex maneuver where Marina would ride on Kaya's rostrum as the orca performed a series of rapid spins before a vertical launch. As they began the sequence, Kaya's body language shifted dramatically. Her echolocation clicks became rapid and intense, audible even over the show's music. Rather than executing the planned gentle spin, Kaya suddenly accelerated, her massive body twisting violently to the left. The force threw Marina 15 feet across the tank. Before she could activate her emergency flotation device, Kaya was upon her. The initial impact was devastating. Kaya's jaws, capable of generating over 19,000 pounds of force, clamped down on Marina's torso. The crowd's cheers turned to screams as Kaya thrashed her head side to side, the movement sickeningly similar to how orcas tear apart seals in the wild. An instant wave of panic threatened to break into chaos, but the park emergency loudspeaker blared instructions urging everyone to stay calm. Security staff positioned at each aisle signaled sections of the audience to begin a controlled evacuation, while others remained seated so paramedics could reach the pool unhindered. What followed was 7 minutes of escalating horror. Unlike previous orca incidents where animals typically release trainers after initial contact, Kaya's attack was relentless and methodical. She repeatedly dragged Marina to the bottom of the 35-foot tank, holding her under for increasingly longer intervals. During one surfacing, Kaya threw Marina's body into the air, catching her again with precise predatory accuracy, a hunting technique documented in wild orcas. The water, normally crystal clear, began to cloud with blood as Kaya's powerful teeth inflicted catastrophic damage. Each time they surfaced, Kaya seemed to become more frenzied. She ignored emergency recall signals, the food being thrown into the water, and even the high-pitched underwater tones designed to disorient orcas during emergencies. At one point, Kaya pinned Marina against the underwater viewing window, giving horrified spectators a close-up view of the attack that would haunt them forever. Assistant trainer Miguel Rodriguez attempted to deploy the emergency net system, but the mechanism jammed. Senior trainer Lisa Cooper activated the underwater recall tones, but Kaya appeared to be in what marine mammal experts would later term a behavioral lockdown, completely unresponsive to external stimuli. The emergency response team finally managed to separate Kaya from Marina using a specialized pole system. Paramedics rushed her to the ambulance, but Marina Lysaro was pronounced dead at 11:47 a.m., citing massive trauma and drowning as the immediate causes of death. The investigation revealed a complex pattern of ignored warnings. While Marina had documented Kaya's concerning behavior, she too had fallen victim to a common phenomenon among experienced trainers: their belief that their connection with the animal would overcome any risks. Despite her own written concerns, Marina continued to perform with Kaya, trusting in their 5-year bond. Internal documents showed the staff concerns about the orca's increasingly aggressive behavior had been repeatedly reported and dismissed. The final maintenance issue with the filtration system appeared to be the trigger that pushed an already unstable animal over the edge, but the true failure lay in the collective denial of Kaya's obvious distress signals. Oceanic World faced severe consequences. Multiple safety violations were cited, particularly focusing on management's decision to continue performances despite documented concerns about Kaya's behavior. The park's insurance costs skyrocketed, and attendance dropped sharply. By early 2010, Oceanic World announced its permanent closure. Kaya was transferred to a larger facility with stricter protocols regarding animal behavior assessment. She never performed with trainers in the water again, living out her remaining years in a more regulated environment. Marina's death underscored the critical need to recognize behavioral warnings and the dangers of overconfidence when working with powerful predators. The trainer's death sent shockwaves through the marine park world. But for the next trainer, his quiet, routine post-show inspection would lead to his final moments on Earth. On the morning of June 12, 2007, Atlantic Horizons Marine Park in San Diego, California, was preparing for another day of performances. The sun cast a golden glow across the stadium as maintenance crews worked quietly, checking equipment and preparing the facilities for the day's visitors. The air carried the familiar scent of salt water, creating an atmosphere of calm that would soon be shattered in one of the most tragic incidents in marine park history. Marcus Reeves, 37, stood at the edge of the main pool reviewing his notes for the morning training session. As the head trainer at Atlantic Horizons, Marcus had dedicated his life to working with the park's two resident orcas, Titan and Echo. His journey to becoming one of America's most respected marine mammal trainers began far from the ocean in the small town of Oak Ridge, Missouri. Growing up in the Midwest, Marcus developed an unlikely fascination with marine life after a family vacation to Florida when he was just 8 years old. The moment he witnessed his first orca performance, something changed in the young boy. He began collecting books about whales, spending hours studying their behaviors and social structures. His bedroom walls were covered with posters of orcas, and he would often tell his parents that someday he would work with these magnificent creatures. After high school, Morgan pursued a degree in marine biology at the University of California, San Diego, where he graduated with honors in 1992. His academic excellence earned him an internship at Pacific Marine Center, where he began working with dolphins and sea lions. His natural talent for understanding marine mammal behavior quickly became evident, and by 1995 he had secured a position at Atlantic Horizons Marine Park. Over the next 12 years, Marcus rose through the ranks, eventually becoming the park's head trainer in 2003. Colleagues described him as methodical, patient, and deeply committed to the welfare of the animals under his care. Unlike some trainers who sought the spotlight, Marcus preferred the quiet moments before and after shows, where he could work with the orcas in a more relaxed environment. Marcus had this incredible ability to read the animals, recalled Sarah Jenkins, a fellow trainer who had worked with them for 5 years. He could detect the slightest changes in their behavior, things most people would never notice. That's what made him such an exceptional trainer. Atlantic Horizons Marine Park had opened in 1989, initially focused on dolphin and sea lion performances. The park expanded in 1997 when they acquired their first orca, Titan, a 19-foot male captured off the coast of Iceland. Echo, a slightly smaller female orca, joined the park in 2000 after being transferred from a facility in Northern California. Together, the two orcas became the centerpiece of Atlantic Horizons performances, drawing thousands of visitors each week. By 2007, Atlantic Horizons had established itself as a mid-sized marine park, not as large as SeaWorld, but respected for its educational programs and conservation efforts. The park averaged 5,000 visitors weekly, with the orca shows accounting for nearly 70% of ticket sales. Titan and Echo performed 4 shows daily, 6 days a week, showcasing their power and agility through a series of choreographed routines. Marcus had been instrumental in developing these routines, working closely with both orcas to create performances that highlighted their natural behaviors while ensuring their physical and mental well-being. He had a particularly strong bond with Titan, the older and larger of the two orcas, often spending extra time with him after hours. Outside of work, Marcus led a quiet life. He lived in a modest apartment near the coast where he could start each day with a sunrise run along the beach. Unmarried but dating fellow marine biologist Elena Cortez, he devoted most of his free time to environmental causes, volunteering with local beach cleanup initiatives and speaking at schools about marine conservation. The morning of June 12th began like any other. Marcus arrived at the park at 6:30 a.m., an hour before the rest of the training staff. The early morning time was precious to him, a chance to observe the orcas when they were calm and the park was quiet. He had been monitoring some subtle changes in Titan's behavior over the previous week, noting increased vocalizations and slightly more erratic swimming patterns. In his log entry from June 10th, just 2 days before the incident, Marcus had written, "Titan showing signs of restlessness during evening sessions, refusing some commands, particularly during the final hour before closing. Recommend reducing performance load temporarily and increasing enrichment activities." Despite these observations, park management had maintained the regular show schedule, citing the upcoming summer season and increased ticket sales. The decision weighed heavily on Marcus, who believed in prioritizing the animal's welfare above all else. As he stood by the pool that morning, clipboard in hand, Marcus was unaware that his concerns about Titan were about to be tragically validated. The events that would unfold in the next hour would forever change Atlantic Horizon's marine park and send shockwaves through the entire marine entertainment industry. The main Orca tank at Atlantic Horizon's marine park held 3.5 million gallons of carefully filtered seawater maintained at a constant 55 degrees Fahrenheit. The massive pool was divided into 3 interconnected sections. The main performance area, visible to audiences, a medical pool equipped with a lifting floor for examinations, and a back holding area where the orcas could rest between shows. On that fateful morning, both Titan and Echo were in the main performance area as Marcus conducted his routine inspection. The pool's edge was lined with a non-slip surface, though years of water exposure had worn down certain sections, a detail that would later become critically important in the investigation. At 7:15 a.m., Marcus began the morning relationship session, a standard procedure designed to assess the orca's responsiveness and establish a positive connection before the day's performances. He was joined by junior trainers Alex Morales and Bethany Chen, who would assist with the session while learning from Marcus's expertise. Titan seemed more alert than usual that morning, Alex would later testify. His movements were sharper, less fluid. Marcus noticed it right away and adjusted the session to focus on calming behaviors. The relationship session proceeded without incident for approximately 20 minutes. Marcus worked primarily with Titan, guiding him through a series of basic behaviors, target touches, gentle vocalizations, and slow swims along the pool edge. Echo, meanwhile, worked with Bethany on the opposite side of the pool. At 7:38 a.m., Marcus signaled for a water sample to be taken, a routine procedure to check chlorine levels and water quality. As he walked along the western edge of the pool toward the testing station, he passed a section where the non-slip surface had been scheduled for maintenance the following week. Security camera footage later analyzed during the investigation captured the moment that would set the tragedy in motion. Marcus, focused on making notes on his clipboard, stepped onto the worn section of poolside decking. His right foot slipped slightly, causing him to momentarily lose balance. In an instinctive reaction to regain his footing, he took a quick step backward, but his heel caught the edge of a drainage gate. The footage shows Marcus falling backwards, arms outstretched, clipboard flying from his hands, as he plunged into the 40-foot deep pool. The splash was relatively small, almost anticlimactic given what would follow, but it immediately caught the attention of both orcas. Bethany Chen, positioned at the far end of the pool, immediately activated the emergency signal, a series of underwater tones designed to recall the orcas to the medical pool. Alex rushed to the emergency equipment station to retrieve a rescue pole and life ring. But Titan and Echo's response was not what years of training had prepared the staff for. Instead of swimming to the medical pool as conditioned, both orcas immediately changed direction, swimming rapidly toward the area where Marcus had fallen. Marcus, a strong swimmer with extensive water safety training, initially remained calm. Security footage shows him treading water and beginning to swim toward the nearest exit platform, approximately 30 feet away. He made it halfway there before Titan intercepted him. What happened next unfolded with terrifying speed. Titan circled Marcus once, then dove beneath him, surfacing suddenly and bumping him from below, a behavior sometimes observed in wild orcas investigating unfamiliar objects. The impact disrupted Marcus's swimming, causing him to momentarily submerge. When he resurfaced seconds later, Echo had joined Titan. The two orcas began swimming in increasingly tight circles around Marcus, effectively cutting off his path to the exit platform. Their behavior, while not overtly aggressive at this point, prevented him from reaching safety. Alex Morales had reached the rescue equipment and was extending a 15-foot pole toward Marcus, but the distance was too great. I kept calling for him to swim toward me, Alex later recalled, but the orcas were between him and the edge. They weren't attacking him, but they weren't letting him leave either. By this point, other staff members had been alerted to the emergency. Senior trainer Lisa Donovan rushed to the control room to activate the emergency nets, a system designed to create a barrier between sections of the pool. But the system, which required 2 minutes to fully deploy, would not activate quickly enough to make a difference. At 7:42 a.m., approximately 4 minutes after Marcus fell into the water, the situation escalated dramatically. Titan, the larger of the two orcas at nearly 10,000 pounds, suddenly dove deep and then surged upward beneath Marcus, lifting him partially out of the water on his rostrum, the front part of his head. This behavior, similar to how wild orcas might play with seal prey, sent Marcus airborne for a brief moment before he crashed back into the water. The impact appeared to disorient Marcus, who began swimming with less coordination. Echo, seemingly responding to Titan's increased activity, began making rapid passes around Marcus, creating waves that further complicated his efforts to stay afloat. By 7:44 a.m., Marcus had been in the water for 6 minutes. The park's emergency response team had arrived at the pool, but their options were limited. Diving into the pool was strictly prohibited during an active orca incident, a safety protocol established after previous incidents at other marine parks. The security cameras captured the escalating crisis in clinical detail. At 7:45 a.m., Titan made the first direct contact with Marcus, grasping his left leg and pulling him under the surface. The water churned as Marcus struggled, breaking free after approximately 15 seconds and gasping for air as he resurfaced. The crowd of staff members at poolside had grown to nearly a dozen, their shouts and attempts to distract the orcas proving ineffective. Emergency protocols were being followed, food fish thrown into distant parts of the pool, underwater acoustic signals activated, and the emergency siren blaring, but neither Titan nor Echo responded to these measures. It was like they were in another world. Bethany Chen later testified, "All our training, all the emergency procedures we'd practiced, none of it seemed to register with them." At 7:47 a.m., Echo joined in the physical interaction, pushing Marcus with her rostrum and driving him toward the deeper center of the pool. The two orcas began working in what appeared to be coordinated movements, taking turns keeping Marcus away from the edges of the pool where rescue might have been possible. Marcus, still conscious and fighting for his life, attempted to remain at the surface. His training had taught him to stay calm in the water, to move slowly and deliberately around the animals. But after nearly 10 minutes in the cold water, his strength was visibly fading. The most devastating moment came at 7:49 a.m. Titan approached Marcus from below, his massive form barely visible in the pool's depth before he surged upward. This time, instead of lifting Marcus, Titan seized him around the torso. The orca dove immediately, taking Marcus to the bottom of the 40-foot pool. For a horrifying 45 seconds, Marcus was held underwater. When Titan finally released him, Marcus floated limply to the surface, no longer actively swimming. Echo circled him once more before both orcas suddenly moved away, swimming to the far side of the pool as if losing interest. The emergency response team immediately deployed 2 rescue swimmers who reached Marcus within seconds of the orca's departure. They pulled his unresponsive body to the poolside where CPR was immediately initiated. Paramedics already on standby at the park took over resuscitation efforts as Marcus was rushed to Coastal Memorial Hospital. Despite the medical team's best efforts, Marcus Reeves was pronounced dead at 8:37 a.m. The official cause of death was drowning, with secondary trauma to his torso consistent with the tremendous pressure of an orca's jaws. The aftermath of the tragedy was swift and far-reaching. Atlantic Horizons Marine Park closed immediately, initially announcing a temporary suspension of operations that would ultimately become permanent. The investigation that followed revealed multiple safety failures, from the worn non-slip surface to inadequate emergency response capabilities. OSHA issued citations totaling $2.4 million for safety violations, the largest penalty ever levied against a marine park at the time. The investigation also highlighted the park's decision to ignore Marcus's documented concerns about Titan's behavior in the days leading up to the incident. Titan and Echo were eventually transferred to Ocean Sanctuary, a larger facility in Northern California with enhanced safety measures and more experienced staff. Neither orca ever performed with trainers in the water again. Ocean Sanctuary later transitioned from entertainment-focused shows to educational presentations conducted from behind protective barriers. The incident at Atlantic Horizons marked a turning point for the marine park industry. In its aftermath, stricter regulations were introduced, mandating reinforced barriers between trainers and orcas, banning in-water interactions, and requiring thorough emergency response protocols. Many facilities chose to phase out their orca programs altogether. But as shocking as that event was, it pales in comparison to what happened next, when Japan's youngest orca trainer was suddenly attacked by the very creature she had devoted her life to, the orca she called her soulmate. April 12, 2018 began as a perfect spring day at Osaka Marine Adventure Park. Cherry blossoms dotted the landscape as visitors gathered for the afternoon's performance. The crowd buzzed with excitement, eager to witness the spectacular show featuring Kuro, the park's 10,000-pound star attraction. Known for his sleek black and white markings and powerful movements, Kuro captivated audiences with his grace and intelligence. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect day, warning signs were already emerging that would soon shatter the illusion of control. Osaka Marine Adventure Park had opened in 1998, initially focusing on conservation and education. Founded by marine biologist Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the park started as a rehabilitation center for injured marine animals. By 2010, facing financial pressure, the park expanded to include more entertainment-focused attractions. Kuro, captured off the coast of Russia in 2007, quickly became the centerpiece of the park's growing appeal. At the heart of Osaka Marine Adventure Park's success was 22-year-old Akira Nakamura. Born in Kyoto to a fisherman father and a mother who worked as a marine biologist, Akira's connection to the ocean was established early. As a child, she would spend hours watching her mother's research videos of orcas in the wild, mesmerized by their intelligence and social structures. By age 10, she had already decided to dedicate her life to working with these magnificent creatures. Graduating high school at 16, she completed her marine biology degree at Tokyo University by 20, becoming the youngest intern ever accepted at Osaka Marine Adventure Park. Her natural talent with marine animals, particularly Kuro, quickly caught management's attention. Within just 2 years, she had risen to become Kuro's primary trainer, an unprecedented achievement for someone so young. By early 2018, concerning patterns had emerged in Kuro's behavior. The once reliable orca began showing signs of stereotypic behavior, repetitive swimming patterns, and unusual vocalizations during night hours. Akira documented these changes meticulously, noting increased aggression during training sessions. Despite her growing concerns, park management focused on maintaining attendance numbers during the crucial spring tourism season, insisted the show's continuous schedule. The morning of April 12th carried an unusual tension. Kuro had been particularly vocal overnight, and the park's filtration system had malfunctioned, disrupting the careful balance of his tank environment. As the 2 p.m. show approached, the 3,000-seat stadium filled to capacity. Families with excited children, tourists with cameras ready, and school groups created a buzzing atmosphere of anticipation. The show began with upbeat music as Akira walked to the platform in her distinctive blue wetsuit. Kuro's entrance was met with gasps of awe as he breached the surface. The first 10 minutes proceeded according to plan. Kuro performed his basic behaviors, though his movements were slightly stiffer than usual. The critical moment came during the show's middle segment. Kuro was supposed to perform a series of underwater spins before surfacing near Akira for a hand target. Instead, he remained submerged at the far end of the pool. After nearly 45 seconds, Kuro finally responded, swimming slowly toward the platform. Akira signaled for a simple breach and slide behavior, one of Kuro's favorites. Kuro began the behavior, launching his massive body partially out of the water, but as he slid back in, his eyes darted rapidly around the stadium. His body language shifted, his pectoral fins stiffened, and his swimming patterns became erratic. Akira began the emergency shutdown procedure, signaling to backstage staff to prepare the isolation gates. What happened next unfolded with terrifying speed. Kuro suddenly accelerated toward the platform, his 10,000-pound body launching partially out of the water. Before Akira could react, he had seized her around the waist in his powerful jaws, pulling her instantly into the water. The crowd's cheers turned to screams as the water churned violently. Kuro dragged Akira to the bottom of the 40-foot tank, holding her under for nearly 30 seconds before surfacing briefly. Emergency staff rushed to deploy rescue poles and nets, but Kuro was in a state of frenzy, thrashing Akira through the water with devastating force. For nearly 3 minutes, Kuro maintained his grip, repeatedly taking Akira to the bottom of the tank. Each time they surfaced, her struggles grew weaker as hypothermia and oxygen deprivation set in. The water, normally crystal clear, began to cloud with blood as Kuro's powerful jaws inflicted catastrophic injuries. When rescue divers finally managed to separate Kuro from Akira using specialized poles, she was unresponsive. Despite immediate CPR and emergency medical intervention, Akira Nakamura was pronounced dead at Osaka General Hospital at 3:17 p.m., becoming the youngest trainer to die in a Japanese marine park. The investigation revealed that park management had ignored multiple warning signs about Kuro's deteriorating mental state. Internal documents showed that Akira had filed 3 formal reports in the previous month detailing concerning behaviors, all of which had been dismissed due to financial pressures during the peak tourism season. Osaka Marine Adventure Park closed permanently 6 months later. Kuro was transferred to a specialized marine sanctuary in Hokkaido, where he lived without human interaction until his death in 2022. Japan's marine park industry implemented sweeping changes to safety protocols, including mandatory behavioral assessments before performances and the prohibition of trainers entering the water with orcas. Today, a small memorial stands at the former site of Osaka Marine Adventure Park, bearing Akira's favorite saying, "The ocean's greatest lessons come from respecting its wildest creatures." Her tragic story serves as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable nature of these magnificent animals and the consequences of prioritizing entertainment over safety. Thanks for watching this video. Let us know in the comments if you're for or against orca shows. See you in the next video.